Choice Hotels get you more for your money so you can maximize any road trip. Let's get real close to hear the maximum sizzle of Comfort Inn's free hot breakfast. Maximized. Check into more. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Welcome to People Tech, the podcast of WorkforceAI.news. I'm Mark Pfeffer. Today I'm talking with Nick Taylor, the co-founder and CEO of Unmind. Their platform uses AI to help users measure, understand, and improve their mental well-being. Which begs the question, does AI have a role to play in mental health care? Why should employers care about it? Are people hesitant about these things? And where are these platforms going? We'll talk about all that and more on this edition of People Tech. Hi, Nick. Welcome. Now, you focus on healthcare, mental health care. And my first question is about AI in that world. Is there a role for AI to play in mental health care?
Well, I think is there any world where AI isn't going to play a role? What we know in healthcare is, particularly in mental health care, is that year on year we're seeing a greater need for mental health care and mental health services. We're seeing the scale of the problem that we're facing as a society around mental illness increasing, and we know that there is fundamentally a shortage of provision for that need. And that results in a situation where we are unable to deliver high quality, scalable, affordable mental health resource. One of those three things ends up giving. Now, what AI is going to be so exciting for in the field of mental health care is to ensure that more people can get the right care at the right time. And what I mean by that is more people can get the right care earlier. So AI is going to play a really important role in the field. And actually the data backs that already. There was a recent report that showed the number one use case of generative AI is companionship and therapy, although it's not a therapeutic tool, most generative AI. So it's not a safe place for people to be doing that. But that is what people are using it for nonetheless. And actually, we've done research in this space as well. And with a recent 2025 trends report we published, we showed that 77% of respondents said that they would likely use an AI coach to practice difficult conversations. We also know that from our own data showing the uses of our AI coach Nova, that we see a massive increase in engagement, in retention of users. In fact, it's 3 times that of industry standards. So not only does it make logical sense to use AI in mental health care, but it's also what people want, and the evidence shows it's what people are using as well. Of course, what's critical is that it's used in a safe way and it's built in a safe way, which we can come on to.
How about talking about this in the specifics of the workplace? It's one thing for AI to be interacting with consumers, but when you put it into the workplace, employers have concerns, there's compliance concerns, regulatory concerns. What are the challenges there?
I think that the workplace not only has a responsibility to ensure that people can be well, it also benefits from their people being well. So the research clearly shows there's a correlation between employee well-being and business performance. Now, obviously, as an organization, and rightfully when organizations are doing this, they need to be thinking about, are they delivering tools which are effective, which are sustainable, so often that means affordable, and deliver good outcomes. And that's a really critical lens a workplace needs to put onto any service that they roll out for their people. And it is really important with AI that when we're delivering it for mental health care, it's built in a safe way. that is built on really good science, that is not overstepping the boundaries of science or appropriate use. So we wouldn't use AI to treat somebody who is very unwell, for example. And actually, the buyer within the workplace or the team responsible for rolling out benefits or healthcare services need to make sure they're really, really good at critically examining the rigor in which services have been built. But in terms of is there a goodness of fit, it's absolutely a valuable tool in ensuring people get the right care at the right time. The way I personally think about AI in healthcare is less of is it appropriate or is it a threat, and more of this is the latest member of the multidisciplinary team. That so long as it is qualified and appropriately scientific and rigorous and safe, is fundamentally going to enable a higher quality of care and an earlier intervention in people's journey, really even going further than that and allowing for proper, hyper-personalized preventative healthcare.
Can you give me an example of how AI might work in this?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Let's imagine, you and I just before were talking about travel. Let's imagine that as a business person, and this is a real life example, I travel a lot for work, and that can play real havoc in my sleep and my kind of level of energy and how well I can manage my work-life balance. Using Nova, which is our AI tool, I can actually ask Nova to help me manage the time zone differences to make sure that I'm managing my sleep routine and my caffeine routine in a way that's going to ultimately minimize the impact that the travel will have on my overall sense of well-being. It can offer very hyper-personalized support to me specific to the time zones I'm traveling in. That's a real life example of how I've used Nova. But also, it's not just about how you can use it for yourself. You can also use it to be signposted to services for yourself and for others as well. So let's say you're a manager of somebody in a team, and that person is struggling with something in their life. You can use our AI tool, Nova, to role model a conversation that you're going to have with this employee in your team to ensure that you're really well prepared for that conversation and that you're also able to signpost them to other services within your organization that they can access. So those are just two real life examples.
So this isn't about replacing a therapist with an AI.
Oh, no, it's absolutely not about replacing a therapist with AI. It's about complementing the system that we currently have. The reality is we have too few really good practitioners or therapists to meet the needs in society. Now, what that results in is a situation where people are either provided with suboptimal care because the practitioner is not well enough qualified, or that the well-qualified practitioner is operating in really quite impossible circumstances that reduce their ability to deliver the best care they possibly can. What AI can help us do in mental health care is to ensure that when those lower layer problems are emerging in our lives, we can use AI really well in that situation to get to more timely, reliable care exactly when we need it. And then similarly, what that AI tool can be doing as well is complementing the support that a more qualified practitioner might be giving to somebody with more significant needs, making sure they have continuous care in their care pathway. So it really is a complementary tool to practitioners versus a threat to them.
Your burger is served, and this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. Its sweet profile perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger.
That is one perfect combination. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
The #1 selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, onabotulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Oh my God, it's the coolest thing ever. Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? Well, check this out. It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. Seriously. So if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
So in the world of mental health, it sounds like the issue here isn't that this is AI. These are more sophisticated tools that can contribute to somebody's overall mental health.
We know that best practice in healthcare is prevention. And yet we're in a world where the reactive system can only just, and often not even, meet the reactive needs, let alone get upstream. Right. The way I see AI is it's a huge opportunity to help us get upstream for more people. And it's an opportunity to deliver really reliable care to people throughout their mental health journey throughout their life. And let's remember, when we're talking about mental health, this is something we all have all of the time. Mental health is something you're born with, you have your whole of your life and you die with, rather you do physical health. And when your mental health goes wrong, to the point that it warrants it, it can become a mental illness. Now, very few mental illnesses emerge overnight. Most of the time, you rarely go to bed on Monday night with no mental illness and wake up on Tuesday morning with a mental illness. Typically, over time, you get more and more symptoms of that mental illness, let's say depression or anxiety, up until the point where eventually you have enough symptoms to warrant a diagnosis. Now, the traditional modality of care has waited for people to get to that point of diagnosis before they're eligible to access healthcare treatments. What AI, and that's really just a managing supply demand issue. That's kind of why that paradigm exists. All the best practice tells us we need to get upstream. So the first time a symptom appears in someone's life, they should be getting treatment for that symptom. Now, we don't have capacity in the system to enable a clinician to deliver that care for that one symptom, but AI can absolutely be doing that. So we're able with AI to get upstream of mental illnesses and go beyond that even, and we're able to use AI to promote mental well-being. And businesses really need to care about this because, as I've said, when our people are well, our business is well. There's a direct relationship between somebody's mental health and well-being and their performance in the workplace.
Yeah, businesses also, have a different calculus about this stuff, I'd imagine. I mean, in terms of employers, well, how's this fit, both in a wellness program perspective, but also a financial perspective? What's the advantage here?
Of using AI?
Yeah.
The advantages are, well, firstly, it fixes a broken system. I don't think you would find many people around the world who work in the field of mental health care who say this is the perfect system. Yeah, most people, if not all people who work in this space, are very quickly able to identify that there's a shortage of qualified practitioners to meet the healthcare needs, that there is a unreliability of quality of care, that there is a globally unequal distribution of care, that the care system is not able to get upstream, that it is very expensive. All of these things, the list goes on and on and on. And actually, across that spectrum of problems I've just listed, AI plays a very useful role in alleviating or fixing or enhancing the current state of play. So it fits in a very real way in terms of improving the situation broadly across the field of mental health in the workplace. And then specifically, if you think about how busy we all are in our lives, and particularly in the workplace, one of the consequences of the digital world, one of the consequences of the post-COVID world is that the work-life balance people have is being reduced in some ways. It's been made more difficult. People are much more put upon in their lives because of this always-on culture. And that means we're poor. As a society, we all would like more time in our lives. And that has historically made it quite difficult to make time to access care, and often results in people kind of putting off the need or desire to go and speak with someone. Now, one of the things about AI in this field that's so interesting, of course, is that it can be done in bite-sized ways. It can be done in the moment, and it can be shorter than your traditional kind of blocking out a 50-minute session for therapy. So there's also advantages in how it can fit around your life. And also it will get to know your life very well. It will know your schedule. It will know your work kind of commitments over the time ahead. It will know your health data based on the wearable data you want to share with it. So again, it can really know you and therefore scaffold you exactly where you need to be scaffolded in order to get to the next place you want to get in your life. So it's a really kind of exciting transformation we're entering in this space.
From the end user's point of view, do you face a lot of resistance? Are people nervous about having a technology tool that might be offered from their employer? Does that make you nervous?
It's a great question. It's a really great question. The most important thing is the anonymity and privacy of the employee. And I think all organizations understand that that is the critical piece when delivering healthcare to their employees. Because if an employee feels that their organization is going to learn about what they're sharing, the employees simply won't use the service, because we are in a world where there's stigma around the topic of mental health and mental illness, but also it's very private personal information. So it's really critical when an employer rolls out a tool that they highlight that privacy of employee data. And any good provider is going to make sure that's really, really well safeguarded in the tools and services they're delivering. So the biggest surprise for me in our rollout, we're coming up to a couple of years now in our rollout of AI tools to employees around the world, has been the incredible uptake and demand and willingness to engage in this tool. If you had asked me 2.5 years ago, Nick, what do you think is going to be the reception to AI? I would have said it will happen, but it will take a bit longer. But what I've actually seen is the impact has been felt much sooner because of people's willingness to engage in the tools.
Now, we're talking about a new technology that people are just getting used to, basically. And you've got competition out there because everybody's looking for ways to apply AI to pretty much everything. How do you stand out? What's your message to customers and prospective customers?
For us as an organization, one of our reputations is being very scientifically rigorous and very data-driven and very ethical. And the way we've approached applying AI within the field of employee mental health care is absolutely in line with the WHO best practice for AI in healthcare. We are already running and research with world-leading universities and large global enterprise organizations, both very well known, proving the efficacy of the approach. We're constantly evolving the platform based on the feedback that we're getting from employees. And really the engagement and the qualitative feedback we get is a great indicator of the value that we are delivering. The other thing I would say is, and I think I've touched on this before, it's not just about having a standalone AI tool. What's really critical here is really to think about AI as part of a platform. So our AI agent is essentially the front door to all of the other services that people can access, be that therapy and coaching, be that access to traditional EAP phone lines, be that access to content. But Nova knows all of that information that's there to help signpost it to the employee. So it's part of a suite. And when you're a global enterprise, what you want is, that complete platform that can meet your employees' needs wherever they are. And you want that to be AI enabled, which is absolutely our approach.
And what's the pushback you get from customers?
I increasingly find we don't get so much pushback because the value is so obvious when we're talking about Nova, and the positive experience the employees have as a result of it and managers have as a result of it is incredibly high. Obviously, every organization is very serious about how the data is processed, how their employee data is kept safe, the clinical rigor that's being put into the tools that are being deployed, and so long as at Unmind, we have done those things really well. So it's a process whenever you roll out a piece of AI technology that you need to go through, and rightfully so, because as I've said earlier, it's so critical that these tools are built in a safe way, because if it's a new member of the multidisciplinary team, we need to make sure it's adequately qualified to be that new member. You wouldn't allow a nurse to be a nurse without being qualified as a nurse. You wouldn't allow a psychologist to be a psychologist without being qualified as a psychologist. And you shouldn't allow an AI agent in the field of mental health care to operate if it's not adequately qualified and safe to use.
Nick, thank you very much. It was great to talk to you. Great to meet you, and I hope we'll do it again.
Thanks so much, Mark. Lovely to speak to you too.
My guest today has been Nick Taylor, the co-founder and CEO of Unmind. And this has been People Tech, the podcast of WorkforceAI.news. We're a part of the Work Defined Podcast Network. Find them at www.wrkdefined.com. And to keep up with AI technology in HR, subscribe to Workforce AI today. We're the most trusted source of news in the HR tech industry. Find us at www.workforceai.news. I'm Mark Pfeffer.